joy and positivity. I know last night many Nigerians did not feel the joy they're expecting to get, as Nigeria, the most dominating side in the recent AFCON competition played right there in Morocco, lost to Morocco, the host nation of the tournament. And I don't want to sound like a bad person, but a part of me feels, well, I'm glad Morocco won the game. And the reason is quite simple. Morocco has invested so heavily in that competition. One of the best turfs, one of the best stadiums, most of the best stadiums. Everything looks so good in Morocco. From Marrakesh to Casablanca, everything looks pretty good. In fact, people have said, I hope Europeans, I hope the Western world can look at Africa now and stop thinking that we are a beggarly continent by seeing the sophistication of the current AFCON tournament hosted by Morocco. They're putting so much money into it. It's only fair that somehow they get the finals of that competition, which is going to be on Sunday. And on Saturday, Nigeria will take on Egypt and see if they can beat the Pharaohs of Egypt to get the third place. Well, it's all good. Congratulations to Nigeria for being the most dominating team. But don't let the loss get to you. Your boys went, they saw, they conquered. And they did not lose any game during normal time. They lost via penalties. It's a good one. So congratulations to Nigerians.
Yes.
I don't know how you reacted to the game, if you took your time to see the game, or if you did what I did, escaped to sleep.
Well, I didn't, but I was in a vicinity where I was hearing the yelling and the cheering,
yes.
and I was like, oh, these people are going to have a heart attack. Well, Nigerians actually prepared for it, even with prayer, praises, while they were at the dining, praising God. And the rest of came back injured or had one problem or the other. Yeah, but when this game actually, when it wanted to start, I had this belief that, I'm sorry to say I'm Nigeria, I guess, but I had this belief that Morocco was going to win. Because it's their land, number one, and I don't know, Morocco has this very strong leg, Morocco has a very, very strong leg, and I wasn't shocked when I learned that, they actually did beat Nigeria, which actually has made Morocco reach their third place in the final of the African Cup of Nations. And in fact, it was really a fight, I would say. It was a fight, because hearing those cheering and the rest of it, I knew it was a fight, beating Nigeria 4-2. That was something. Nigeria still tried, at least they scored 2. And it was a penalty that actually made them crash, but they have not crashed finally. We were still hoping that something would happen. For those that gave their bets, because so many people put their bets on Nigeria, only one person put his bet on Morocco that I saw yesterday. The person was like, everybody's just betting for Nigeria, betting for Nigeria. Let me bet for Morocco. Deep within me, if I were to do this betting thing, I would have betted for Morocco. Yeah.
Well,
but we tried to.
Well, Morocco put the highest money, $16.6 billion is what they invested in this tournament. That's a whole lot of money. Put that in naira, enters trillions. So hey, at least they give them their first. They hosted a good tournament. They should get to the final. They started the competition. They should end the competition on Sunday. So congratulations to the Moroccans. Well, for the first time, the Super Eagles did not score a goal during the tournament, during normal play. That was a big one for Morocco, but let's let that one go. While we're celebrating the heroes, Victor Osimhen, Ademola Lookman, and the rest of them, great players, Kelvin Bassey, who I saw his pictures everywhere, people loading him for being a very great defender. Let's talk about those who have defended Nigeria from time to time. Today being the 15th day of January, happens to be Armed Forces Remembrance Day. It's a day set aside to honor those who have fought for the peace, stability, should I say security, of this great nation called Nigeria. The unity. They have helped do all the things that we couldn't do. In fact, I've said this a number of times, that you cannot pay them enough for their services rendered to this country. They put their lives on the line every other day. They put their lives on the line. When there is an attack, it's normal when you're moving around areas where you find the military and you feel that the place is secure. But here is a sad fact. if there is going to be a potential attack on any area, the first port of call is going to be the military area. So that means that militaries all around the world are vulnerable to attacks, and that's why they prepare themselves in their minds to be able to attend, to be able to handle such attacks. So salutations goes to every soldier out there, those who are still serving and the ones who have retired. Yeah. And also we send our heart to the families of those who've had their own warriors depart Mother Earth in service to a nation called Nigeria.
Yes, and it's no longer Armed Forces Remembrance Day. It is now Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. While we remember our fallen heroes who tried to put the country together, put their lives on the line just for the peace and security of Nigerians, we'll also remember those who are still fighting the war to make sure that this peace that the fallen heroes started to build do not die. So it's also celebrating those that are alive and encouraging more to join the armed forces so that peace that Nigerians are clamoring for will actually get it. So we're also celebrating those that are alive, that are still fighting. That's why it is now called the Armed Forces Celebration, awarding them and also Remembrance Day.
All right, let's remember how this whole thing started. 1970, when the Civil War ended, this was one of the things to do, to remember those who might have fallen when it was declared no victor, no vanquished. That story happened way back in 1970. 1967 to 1970 was when we had the Nigerian Civil War. That being fought, and afterwards, where are our soldiers now? What is the state of Nigeria now? In fact, the Biafra story that we had in the 60s, 1967 to 1970, and it was declared no victor, no vanquished. What is the fate of those who still live around the southern eastern part of the country? How are they coping? We remember the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and he right now in Kanu, in prison. We remember the case of Simon Ekpa and the rest of them who are trying to fight, but sometimes such battles turned out wrong against the Nigerian law. How have we managed the southern eastern? How have we managed them to ensure that, yes, we honor the memories of 1970, not just the heroes that passed during that period, but of the ideology that was passed during that period? How have we managed to keep Nigeria as one nation? Those are some critical questions we should be asking ourselves while we celebrate. And it's a good thing it's now called a celebration and not just Remembrance Day, because sometimes remembrance means mourning. But if somebody does great, you celebrate the life of that person. Yes. And let me say this candidly, the Nigerian military has done so great. From rescue operations in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and some other countries, we have really stood our ground, not just fighting for Nigeria, but we have fought for some other countries in West Africa, and even by extension Africa, who are part of the apartheid movement, apartheid fight, saving South Africa from the battles it faced and being a strength to even the Mandela story. Nigeria's military has stood its ground through thick and thin, and now we're going through another different war. While we have fought warfares outside the country, it's a period where we are fighting an internal war inside our country. Notice I had to use a tautology to say internal, inside. That means it's quite heavy. So to emphasize it heavily, we are going through a whole lot, a different circles entirely. What this means is that there is need for sophistication of the weaponry of these military men. They need to have what it takes to face the assault brought by terrorist groups. But that is ISIS, ISWAP, Boko Haram. They must have the machinery to fight them, not just in guns, but in gadgets that could help them be far ahead. It's time for us to build on our intelligence. The era of saying that, okay, we are attacked first before we react should be far gone. The state of the Nigerian system now should be encouraging of seeing that they go before the terrorists even attack. That's called intelligence gathering. They must be fed well by an intelligence team and they must execute properly. Also, they should be given the necessary reward, appreciate well. I'm talking about retirees first. Those who have retired and are going through the pension struggle here and there. We've seen them have different clamors, different times. I think last year they had a clamor about their pensions and the rest of them. This year that fight still continues. They're still having this snippet of conversation about their own remuneration via pensions. The ones who are still in the military, who are still serving, they see what has happened to their predecessors, and that kills the morale of military men and women. Therefore, that should be handled. Reward systems should be very heavy, that these men can feel that they ought to go out there and fight for the country. Whether it means increasing salary of those serving, that's quite important. And so the fact that many people have wrong impressions of the military should be looked into. A situation where we've had reports about ex-terrorists being incorporated into the military should be something to be handled properly, not just with a pinch of salt, but intensely. Attention to be given to those areas so that the military men can feel safe in their own barracks. Now, talking about their barracks welfare, it's important as well. So provide good places for them to stay, give them the beautiful life they deserve, because they fight for this nation every night and day, and they deserve all the credits and all the attention of the government.
Yeah, that's right. And this year's Armed Forces Celebrations and Remembrance Day actually began on Friday. It didn't just start today like with the celebrations. It began on Friday with special Jumat prayers at the National Mosque, Abuja, Central Mosque in the 36 states, not just in Abuja, but also the 36 states. There was a Jumat prayer for them and all military formations nationwide. And this year, the theme is valor, sacrifice, and unity, honoring our heroes. Honoring our heroes. Now, a theme chosen to highlight the role, professionalism, and sacrifice of the Nigerian Armed Forces in the present dispensation. Program of event, like I said earlier, started on the 9th, which was Friday last week, and it's going to continue till today, being the 15th of January, as released by the National Planning Committee Chairman, Mrs. Bosede Olani, who is also the Director of Joint Services Department of the Ministry of Defense. So today is going to be the round-off ceremony for that Armed Forces Celebrations and Remembrance Day. But one thing I would actually like the Armed Forces to do is when there is a fallen hero, the families should not be left out, like they shouldn't be abandoned, because I've seen some clips where women cry out to say, oh, my husband, if I knew it was going to be like this, I would have stopped you from going into the service and stuff like that, that they were abandoned. But we don't really want that to continue. I think the welfare of those that these fallen heroes left behind should be looked into. Their welfare should be paramount. It should come first, because these were women and children who let their husbands, their fathers, to go out and fight for the safety of Nigeria. So Nigeria shouldn't happen to them, shouldn't abandon them. I think that's a clarion call, or in authority, those at the helm of affairs should not let the widows and the children of these fallen heroes to suffer the great loss of losing a father or a husband.
Okay, very strong. Those strong words really. The widows should not should not be left alone after the fall of your husband. Even widowers too also involved. I should say that as well. I think that the military families of the military men who've been left behind should never be left behind by the government. They should be given the attention that they deserve. We celebrate them in their camels. We know there are some issues that many of us do not like about the military, but there are issues that concerns how they attack those who wear their camels, who dress in their ways. But people have also respected the military, saying that they know how to mind their business and focus on what should be focused on. In fact, there have been quotas who have rated them higher in terms of behavior than the Nigerian police force. For me to debate, that's just what people are saying on the streets. There are some police staff, friend. There are some who will tell you on a very lighter note, you can do whatever you like, but never offend. And the country that we lived our lives from for a long time, till 1999, before we let go of military men in power, it affected our psyche a whole lot in terms of the military men believing they are still in power. So most of their dispositions, all the things they do, are not supposed to be done in the first place. Normally, we're not supposed to see military men and women around the streets carrying heavy machineries. It's not a very nice sight, and we only see that in Nigeria, so it has been normalized. Truth be told, that should not be the order of the day. They should be seen in areas where they are needed and not just walking around streets. People don't even know that the policeman can arrest a military officer. but that's a different conversation entirely. I don't want to see that one
I
happen.
didn't even hear that.
And see how far that could go. But then Nigeria should focus on these people. Indeed, our budgets, 2025 budget, we have about 2.8 billion naira budget, a supplementary budget, and it was not entirely released. So these attention should be given to them. What is right to them should get to them. When we hear junior still officers collecting 10,000, 3,000 naira, should not be heard again. They should collect what they deserve, really, because their lives are on the line. Any job of an individual that could just
job.
take it immediately deserves better remuneration. There are doctors who face the risk of having ailment, military men and women who face the risk of being shot. It's why if you go to functional drilling sites, you see that they collect good monies, functional ones. But there's a thing about Nigeria where we have turned those who labor with their lives and to the back corner, the back seat, while those who sit around offices get the bigger bulk of pay. And that's partly why we see people are indifferent towards joining the military. They believe they get good pay for it. Parents refuse their sons. What has been the response so far? So recently they began to respond because of sensitization. But before now, people have had a very bad impression.
Yeah.
People even believe that those in southern area of the country don't have the right